Hey everyone, Richard Robbins here. The numbers are in for May for the Toronto Real Estate Board. Now, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take you through, of course, the first 5 months of this year, show you what's going on. But then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to show you the actual number of sales for each month, not only this year, but last year. Because remember, COVID-19 around the middle of March had a dramatic effect. And I'm also going to look at the average price, okay, every month from 2019 to 2020. So let's have a look. We've got January now to the end of May. Good stuff. We got sales, active listings, months of inventory, average price, and days in market. If we look at sales, we did 4,581 in January. Of course, it started to increase to 7,256 over 8,000. And then, whoa, what happened here? 2,975, it dropped off. So you can see we were in a normal spring market. COVID came in about halfway through March. Still turned out to be a pretty decent month, but then it dropped off down to 2,975. But look at this, went to 4,606 in May. That's an increase of 55%. Not back to where it was May of last year. However, it's still up by 55% over what took place in April. Now, as you know, if you follow this, if we take the active listings and we divide the number of sales into that, that gives us our months of inventory. We also know 4 to 6 months is balanced, above 6 is buyers, below 4 is sellers. You just don't have any inventory in Toronto. Months of 1.7. Look at 1.2. This is crazy hot market with prices rising. You know, you got 1.3 here in March, and then all of a sudden it jumped to 3.5, which, by the way, even 3.5 is still a seller's market with prices going up. And look what happened, because our sales went up by 55%, listings only 8%, we went down here, okay, you can see that means that's down by 30%, which is 2.5, pretty amazing. Look at price, you know, from April 821 to 864, that's up by 5% month over month in the middle of COVID. Now the reason that's happening is because there is no inventory, okay? There's not a lot of people coming to market, and of course, we're having more buyers right now coming to market in a lot of cases, and we are sellers on a monthly basis. So look at this, 2019 to 2020, this is the number of sales. So look what happened. This year, we were up by 14% in the month of January. It was really starting out very, very hot. Then look at this, February, we're up by 44% year over year. And then what happened here, we're only up by 11% in March. Why? COVID, right? Came into the middle of March. And then down by 67% in April and 53 or 54% here in May. So you can see it's starting to drop a little bit, but we're still off. Like last May, you did 9,900 sales. This 4,606. That's off by a big number. You know, your pie's just smaller. So what about this? What about price? We look at 2019 average price to 2020. January over January of last year was up by 12%. Look at February, up by 16%. March, 14%. April stayed almost the same. And then, of course, even in the middle of COVID, year over year, you're up by 3%. So I look at the market and say, our sales pie is much smaller. People talking about the market being really, really strong. It is strong in terms of prices, because there's no inventory, which means your prices are going up. But, you know, if you look at it, say it doesn't matter, our sales are still down by 54%, which means there's less sales available. So here's what your months of inventory looks like. You know what we have here is we've got 17, 18, 19, and they're your dotted lines. That shows your months of inventory. This here is the seller's market. 4 to 6 up here, we don't even put it on the chart, right? 4 to 6 is a balanced market, and above 6 is a buyer's market. Well, you can see you started out here with hardly any inventory. Like the market was really, really strong. April, it jumped up, and then it started to come back down to 2.5. So price-wise, you're still in a very, very strong market where prices are going up. So the question is, what's the future? Well, nobody knows for sure. Here's my prediction. I do think June's going to be a little busier than it was in May. There's going to be more sales available as the whole country and, of course, Toronto starts to open up a little bit more and lives come back to some semblance of normal, not the way they were, but, you know, we're starting to hopefully move in that direction. Now, I do think your inventory is going to start to rise a little bit as well. I do think there's going to be great opportunity in July and August this year. You know, a lot of people that put it off because the spring COVID-19 and they're sort of waiting to do things in June, maybe July and August. However, something we got to keep in mind, and there's been a lot of debate and a lot of talk about this, is, you know, the whole real estate industry is going, oh, the market's crazy, prices are going up, there's no inventory, you can't find anything, and they're right. And then, of course, CMHC makes this prediction that we're going to see a substantial drop in price. And I do think that you get into the fall, we could see inventory start to rise a little bit more. Maybe prices start to balance out. I don't know for sure, but we got to understand that unemployment rate is high and will probably remain high for a while, and that has an effect in the marketplace. Now, yes, we've got very low interest rates, but just keep in mind that unemployment will play a big game in what happens to the real estate market. I don't see it falling off a cliff, but I do think your inventory is going to start to rise, and if your inventory starts to rise into the fall, then what you're going to see, obviously, is you're going to see your months of inventory start to go up, could start to weaken prices. However, I don't think they're going to weaken that much, but that could happen, but nobody knows absolutely for sure. I'm not trying to be the pessimist here. I'm just trying to be a realist, because unemployment will impact your real estate market. So my theory is, I think June, July, and August, we should be in the game right now. There's great opportunity out there if you're working. I hope this was helpful. And remember, everybody, it's a beautiful life. Make it count.